Ah,
Welcome, everybody. It is Monday. No,
mm-mm,
it's
mm-mm.
Thursday night, and this is not attack on the politicals. It is, if you look in the upper right hand corner, it is in the batter's box. It is the NJC Sports Weekly Baseball Show. I'm your host, Rob Garcia, making a change here for the home stretch of the playoffs. That way, the four of us can be here with you guys the rest of the season and not have to worry about things like that. Of course, remember the website. It is ndscsports.com where you catch all of your current content. Please log on to the website right now. Sammy Sportface, always busy, sleep apnea, protective cups, and wake season feeling over. I think Sammy is a little depressed about Wake football, John.
Yeah, and they got Ole Miss this weekend. It's not going to get any easier.
Not going to get any better. Uh, we get
Disappointing.
we get news from America East basketball from John Doucette. Of course, you know John's been up there for years covering America East sports up there. And men's basketball this week he gives us UNH, that would be the University of New Hampshire, revamps its roster. It's a new season. John, give us a little taste about that.
Well, they had to revamp that entire roster. A lot of kids left via the transfer portal. They lost their best player, Clarence Daniels, who's not going to be playing basketball in Europe. And so Nathan Davis, the head coach, had to basically revamp that roster. He brought in 7 new players um, for the guard spot, 3 big men to try and begin the process of putting that program back together again. They got a tough schedule. They started right off with UConn, going to see the 2-time defending national champions down at Stores. They've got other tough games as well in the month of November because, for the most part, they'll spend the month of November on the road. So they need to get off to a good start, or else it could be bottoms up.
And John, one of the things we were worried about in other news, NDSC Sports, of course, being privileged, honored, and privileged to be able to cover the Professional Women's Hockey League from its inception. We got so lucky. I mean, how lucky did NDSC Sports get? We got so lucky that John Doucette was in the house for the inaugural Walter Cup. God damn. I got goosebumps when I said that, John. That is the equivalent, folks, of the Stanley Cup of the NHL. And this week, John, there was some big news that came out of Boston.
They came out with logos. They came out with names for these teams. And so they finally have something that they can really market going forward. The Boston team is going to be called the Boston Fleet. It is in reference to the maritime business that the city of Boston has had for a long time. And the logo is going to be green. It's going to have a bee that's going to be shaped somewhat of like an anchor. But it looks nice, and people have been responding rather positively to it. I mean, if we can put the 6 logos up so you can see what they look like, you put them up because they all look pretty nice. But the BWHL, as I say, they got names, they got logos, and so now it's all about marketing and putting the schedule together for next year, which should come up pretty soon.
All right, so John is telling me to do something, and everybody knows, I pretty much follow orders pretty well. So, yes, sir. Partner, how about we go ahead and we give a nice little peek right here. Let's see if I can get it up here in a better.
I mean, for those that saw Good Morning America, I think it was on Monday morning when the logos were unveiled on national television, which was even better.
All right, there we go. Over here we have the Boston Fleet, and of course, reflecting the history, the maritime history, up in the Boston area. The other team, of course, Minnesota. Minnesota is who? Wait a minute. Here it is. The Minnesota Frost. The Minnesota Frost. Hey,
good name. Yeah, how poetic.
Yeah,
No
you don't have
idea.
to say anything. You don't have to say anything else about it after that. Then you have the New York Sirens.
What?
This is so cool because way back in New York, 40 years ago, almost.
Mhm.
Myself and my girlfriend, the mother of my son, I move her to the Bronx. We get a condo in Parkchester in the Bronx. And I come home one day, well, several days, and you can hear my TV. As soon as you get out of the elevator, it's blaring down the hallway. And I'm thinking, what the crap? So I walk in, I said, babe, what are you doing? The TV's so loud. She says, it's the sirens. The sirens, it's the sirens all the time here. Perfect. New York Sirens. The Ottawa Charge, the Toronto Scepters.
Yeah.
And then I saved this for last. The Montreal Victoire.
Yeah, that seems to be the one that everybody really likes. Is the one that Montreal was given.
Yeah, victory. So
Yeah.
it is really special. As a matter of fact, on the website here, I'll go to it. By the way, we'll go ahead and just look. And by the way, we are going to talk baseball, so calm down, folks. We really are. It says here. Victoire embodies Montreal's joyously competitive spirit. So anyway, I'm going to the website because this is another one. I'll cut this out now. But again, go to the website. You'll see also the two articles that will speak of Boston's naming and the logo and all.
They got the merchandise that's already up, hats,
They've got
t-shirts. So everything is ready to go, and they should do a very good job of marketing and putting the really good product on the ice for year two. Looking forward to seeing them again and being a part of that again.
I know. Last but not least, of course, Bradley Walker back in the box at South Florida. He gives us a look ahead this weekend as they travel to Southern Miss to face the Eagles. And John Doucette, of course, John is all over the place up there. You think if anybody thinks that John Doucette is at home, trust me, he doesn't spend a lot of time there. He goes to sleep at home. He just gets home in time to eat and sleep. John, of course, also at Boston College. As Boston College, thank you very much, gives NGSC Sports its umpteenth season at Boston College football. John gives us number 24 Boston College, heads to number 6 Missouri. And the big eye catcher there, John, was just before you said Boston College. What the hell is that number 24, John? I'm not used to seeing
For the
that.
first time in quite a while, Boston College is a ranked team in the Associated Press poll. They did not get ranked in the USA Today coaches poll, however, but they did get into the Associated Press poll. It's the first time since week 12 of the 2018 season that the Eagles have been a ranked team.
Yeah.
They've got that's a big game in Columbia this weekend with Missouri. That will really set them up going forward, big time if they can somehow pull that one off.
I can't imagine the vibe if they pull this off.
I know. I mean, they've got a running game that already has established itself in both those wins against Florida State and Duquesne, and their defense has been playing pretty well. I mean, next week we'll be there for the first time and see them play Michigan State, which is the red bandana game on next Saturday night. So, I mean, if they can pull this off, boy, it's really – there's a lot of good things you can talk about if they can pull this off.
Yeah. All that and more, of course, on NGSCSports.com, where we never stop. Yeah, I know. 10 minutes after the hour, Alejandro's in the car. He's growing baseball bats out of his neck, ready to talk baseball. But we got to cover some stuff. But as always, we start our show with the MLB Roundup, top stories across the league. It's September. It's the middle of September. There's not a lot of baseball left, okay? And although, and we'll talk in the second half of the show, we'll always bring you now. Our topic will be the race to the postseason. Right now, we'll talk about some of the stories. And one of those that caught my eye, John gave us one, but I got another one that caught my eye. We watched this guy in college. His teammate has made a little noise.
Yes.
Kumar Rocker
Ooh,
set
yeah,
to make his debut, John.
tonight.
Yes,
Tonight.
finally, Kumar Rocker is going to make his debut for the Texas Rangers and get a chance to maybe make 2 starts before the season ends. He, of course, had a terrific career at Vanderbilt, helped them win a national championship, was originally drafted by the Mets, but tried to kind of weasel his way through a shoulder injury that he didn't want to tell anybody that he had, and unfortunately the Mets figured it out and got rid of him. And so he ended up with the Texas Rangers. But I mean, this is, again, the Texas Ranger rotation is getting old here. Scherzer, DeGrom, these guys are getting old, and unfortunately, they need to be replaced at some point. And I think the hope is that Kumar Rocker can make the impression over the next couple of weeks that he could be one of those guys that is a part of that rotation for next year. It could be a very interesting big 2 weeks for him.
You know what concerns me, Alejandro? What concerns me, obviously, as a Met fan, very excited when the Mets got Kumar Rocker. Unfortunately, as John explained, shit happened.
Yeah.
And now here he is elsewhere. And by the way, he is also going to be the first player of Indian descent to make his Major League Baseball debut. You know what concerns me, right, Alejandro? Because we know what we're looking for in Kumar. I can't wait to see it. What kills me as a Met fan is, damn, I think this guy's going to be good anyway, and he ain't on my team anymore. Alejandro, papi.
I love it. I love it. I love the opportunity that he's getting. He showed flashes of excellence in the minor leagues with Texas, and it was about time to call up, especially with all the rotation and a rotation which you have a lot of injury prone players. So I'm looking forward. Also, I mean, they picked the right team actually to face him, for him to face, which is the Mariners, which they've been disastrous offensively. So why not? I want to see. I don't want to see 2 stars. I want to see whatever he got every fifth day.
And then we got to hope Louis, of course, all he has to worry about is the usual injury bug, that it doesn't bite him. But it is a very, very big start for Rocker in Texas. And hey, I mean, defending
when you talk Rocker 2 years ago, you talk about the same level as Paul Skeens.
Right.
So they were the same level.
Hey, Louis, it could get scary, Louis. This guy could be scary good, Louis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the Rangers are not the same team they were last year. So,
but we're not talking about the Rangers. We're talking about the kid.
Oh, yeah.
We have to be excited about to see this.
Yeah.
I mean, I do wonder if the Texas Rangers have been.
I think that's where Louis was going.
I will say this. I do think it would have been interesting had the Texas Rangers been in a playoff fight. Would they have still brought Rocker up and gave him this opportunity?
Sure.
I don't know. It might be like a bullpen piece because they're probably now going to want him stretch him up a lot with another season coming up. So I think he could have gotten a chance to play a bullpen role. The kid has potential.
Yeah, Louis. I don't think Louis was finished, guys. Finish up, Louis.
Well, no, go for it, Louis. Sorry.
Louis, smack these guys around, Louis.
I think if you would have had Rocker, early in the season, and if the Raiders were in contention, I think Rocker would have been a great addition and maybe would have been in contention for a playoff spot before they even dropped off like a rock this year. I mean, this is not the same Rangers team that won the World Series last year, and I think they needed Rocker to get that extra edge. But now they got to look towards the future for next year. As for Skinnis, he did so well in the beginning of the season, but his numbers have dropped off too, and Pittsburgh has fallen off a cliff. They were so good in the first half of the season, then.
Yeah, they have. They have. Now, you guys brought up something that I was going to talk about. So Texas, of course, as Louis said, not the same team. Mm-hmm. Texas is not. Texas don't look like Texas is going to repeat, boys. So does that in turn, I think it does that in turn now help Rocker now There's no playoff pressure, no pressure for him to perform for the
Keyword
playoffs,
there.
right? Huh?
Keyword.
Yeah,
No pressure.
no pressure, no pressure.
And we
It
also
works out.
we
Go
also
ahead.
know that he's playing for Bochy. Bochy is a guy that trusts like young talent.
Right.
I hope he
Right.
doesn't burn him like he did with a lot of those guys in the Giants, because he also had the habit of overstanding this guy. So yeah, I like it. It's no pressure. Go do your thing, Rocker, man. I'm looking forward, man, especially against the Mariners.
Let's see what he can do with 5 innings and say 90 pitches.
I think so. I think they're not gonna do a lot of. They're not gonna overwork him.
And by the way, it would be better him making these 2 starts at the major league level than sending him to the Arizona Fall League and
Exactly.
doing whatever he can do
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
They're
I'm
not in
happy.
playoff, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm happy.
No.
I'm happy for the kid. You know, I wish that he was on my team because I think we can all agree here that Umar Rocker, unless something goes wrong, that boy's gonna be a good Major League Baseball pitcher.
I bet he circles the games against the Mets on next year's schedule.
Yeah, John, I was thinking about that, John. I don't want to think about it now. I think we know how fired up he's going to be for that one. Yeah, you think?
I think so, yes.
I think so. Now, free agency. Yeah, there's a bunch of players in the past that are still alive that sure wish they could have been a part of this thing called free agency, huh? And this guy in particular, Mr. Juan Soto, and his pending free agency comes up. And so Juan was asked, hey, Juan, talk about your free agency. What do you think? What team? He said, you never rule out any team.
Exactly.
So, Louis, here's the first thing, Louis. Juan Soto's a Yankee.
Yes.
I know you would like him to stay a Yankee.
Mm-hmm.
The bad news, Louis, is he ain't gonna be a Yankee.
That's great.
At least I hope not. Louis, what do you think? What's going on? What's the talk up there about this?
Yeah, I heard about the free agency, and Yankees are doing all they can to sign him. But what was it? 2 or 3 year deal to stay with the Yankees and with an opt out. But he has. With the way that him and of course the other big guy on our team, it's a 1-2. It's a 1-2 deadly combination here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see it breaking up, but I think Sato was thinking, maybe just 1 year, and then I'm gonna vote for somewhere else. I hope it doesn't happen, but there's a lot of rumors going around that he isn't gonna stay, and that's what worries me a little.
Right now, John. John. Here's the thing that gets to me. Now you look at his production. He's now got himself into the AL MVP conversation. He says it's about winning championships, and he says we're not quite there yet. He says. So here's my thing to you, John, because we know what this is all about, right? So if this is really about winning championships, and we're not there yet. If you want to win championships, why are you going to go anywhere? You're already on a team this close to a championship. And it's the New York Yankees, not the freaking Denver, Colorado Rockets. Why does he want to leave the Yankees when he's on the I don't like to say this, John, but if Juan Soto resigns with the Yankees keep the core and even add another, I'm freaking scared. They're close to winning a championship. Why would he want to leave, John?
Well, the problem here is that Scott Boras is his agent, and Scott Boras is going to go for top dollar. And the rumor is that Scott Boras is looking for a 12-year, $560 million deal for Juan Soto. Now, what makes all of this interesting is that Boras has 5 clients that are going, well, actually, 1 that's already been signed and 4 more that need to be signed. Soto is one of those clients. Cody Bellinger is another one of those clients. Alex Bregman is a 3rd member of that group. And if Blake Snell decides to opt out of his 2nd year with the Giants, he becomes the 4th guy in this group. These are the Boras clients that he's going to try and take care of as best he possibly can. look, we all know that if Soto's going to get 12 years at $560 million, not every team can make an offer here. We're only talking about the usual suspects that could potentially absorb that kind of a deal. And so the market that Soto is going to create for himself is going to be a small one to begin with, but it could be one that, frankly, provides him with the kind of financial resources that he would be interested in trying to play off of.
Papi,
I think
12 years,
I'm not,
500 million?
I-
12
I
years,
am not-
500 million?
I think probably more than that he's going to get if they add another year to that. But I think Soto is a guy that, I mean, I'm not a Yankee fan, but I think he fits them perfectly, especially in that ballpark, especially with that protection behind him for years to come. The Yankees, I mean, they seem to have, the willing to do it. Why not? One thing that kind of shook me, kind of took me by surprise, was Matt Chapman, was another Boras agent. Boras is his agent, another one of his clients, and he signed just a couple of weeks ago, which took me out because this is not Boras' MO. He never does things with a season in progress.
Oh, right.
So I don't know. When I see something like that, then I see a possibility of him maybe be talking to the Yankees or teams already about like possibilities for Juan Soto. I think, in my opinion, in terms of like marketing, Soto fits perfectly in the Yankees. You have a Dominican crowd.
Right.
You have the park. We've seen how he struggled in a park that's like horrible for left-handed pitching, like Petco. I will put kind of Citi Field, which the Mets are another possibility as one of the suitors for Soto. But will he like to go to the Mets, even though that he's probably going to have protection? But also, you're going to hit in a park that's very similar to Petco, which kind of destroyed 2 years of your career. And the funny thing is, like, I think he's worth the money because he's just entering his prime. He's just 24, 25 right now.
Yeah.
So this is his best years are ahead of him, actually, now this year, especially if it stays in Yankee.
After you gave Ohtani, what, $7 billion?
That's another thing that
$500 million doesn't bother me at all.
That's another thing. If he wants to win, they could work out a deal like one of those prorated deals. Like, okay, you get 20-some millions now, you get the other 20-something millions in 10 years. Why not? That's a possibility. Soto is a kid that's super. I think he has a good family values. Is a kid that's super smart. You don't see him doing like crazy shit like other young kids nowadays.
Yeah,
he lives with his parents, so he's a smart kid. So I expect him to do the smart thing.
Well, I'm just curious, beside the New York teams, who's going to pay?
Well,
San Francisco has a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean the Giants, but again, the Giants are going to have to decide about Blake Snell first before they can even.
Yeah, but he's not going to leave to go to the Giants. Holy crap! I mean, I hope not. That's not where you're going to win.
I don't think that ballpark would necessarily give Juan Soto the kind of offensive numbers that he would be looking for.
We're gonna finish out this segment just with numbers, and I'm only doing it.
But I'll say this. Think of this. Matt Chapman gets a 6-year, $151 million deal from the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
At the moment, he's hitting as a 250 hitter. If Chapman can get 6 years at 151, what does Alex Bregman get?
That's another guy
out there.
Wow, yeah, that's right.
John, do you see actually Bregman moving from Houston Astros? I mean, Houston doesn't have a backup plan in the minors. I mean, you can't really.
And by the way, neither did the San
gamble with that
when it came to third base. They don't have a backup plan either, and I think that's why Chapman got this money.
That's the point that I'm trying to get across.
Exactly why he got it. Yeah.
You don't have an inferior prospect that you could say, okay, this is going to be the future of the franchise. They years away from maybe a good infielder. in terms of prospects. I mean, they don't have. I don't see Bregman moving out of Houston. I think he's going to stay.
All right, so Bregman's looking at least 150 million. So how much more past the 150 does he go?
Yeah, the question is how much Crane would want to pay, because he got money. I mean, the guy is worth like $5 billion, but
And
also
remember,
he doesn't like to spend money excessively like that. So let's see, man. I kind of want to see him finishing his career in Houston, because trust me, I don't think Bregman is going to hit in any other park the way he hits in Minute Maid or whatever the name of the field is now. But in Houston, I mean those Crawford box, you can hit better than that unless you're in Yankee Stadium.
But remember, the Astros are also going to think about Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, that's another guy.
The next one after Bregman that they're going to have to think about. So if Bregman
But
gets
also
175, 180, what does Tucker get?
But also going back to the farm system,
Wow.
they have better outfield prospects than they have infield prospects. So, yeah, you can afford to lose. You can afford to lose Bregman, but you also can afford to lose Tucker. Meaning that Tucker has kind of backup in the minors. You could bring a guy from like the minors and groom them and he could take over, but they don't have anybody. They don't have a solid infield prospect that I could say, this is the guy that's going to take over for Bregman. You could say
and the
that.
other thing I would say with the Astros is they also don't have a first base prospect either, and they're going to need a first baseman too.
Yeah. I don't know how they did in the draft. I actually didn't look who they got, but yeah, they need to move on that as well. I heard like some people mentioning like Vladdy Guerrero as a possibility there. But at the end of the day, it's all about Crane. Jim Crane is a guy that has a lot of money. He see what the Astros could draw in terms of audience, fan base. I mean, they top 10 in the major leagues in attendance. So, he's gonna have to start paying money.
Wow, Bichette, Guerrero Jr., two names I haven't heard in a while. So, gentlemen, I put up two numbers, or the same number, a 50 and a 50.
Yep.
Torches one to right center field. He's carrying the ball. He hits a bullet out of here.
There it goes.
47 and 47. Now 3 and 3 away.
Shohei Ohtani's running away with the NL MVP, man.
Running
away.
It got out of here quick.
So,
I mean, it was out of the.
It's not like it's news, and it is news because you know how something happens so often it just becomes normal. Although we could probably never expected what Shohei Ohtani has done since he came into the league as normal when we talk about baseball. But I'll tell you guys, I sure do appreciate. Hey, Louis, I'm going to go to you first. Hey, yes. Louis, I sure do appreciate that at our age and after everything we've seen. Remember, Louis, me, you, and John, we come up in an era where you knew something about a guy who hit 50 home runs. One,
right,
he wasn't that fast. Two, he didn't hit for a high average, okay? No. Three, he had a lot of RBIs for a 50 home run guy, or he had too little RBIs for a 50 home run guy. But the one thing we never had to worry about, Louis, was that a 50 home run guy would steal 50 bases. Shohei, can you see, Louis?
Yes. Yeah, I've never seen that. I mean, last year we had one with 40 home runs, 70 RBIs, which was pretty impressive itself. But now we're seeing another historic one, 50 and 50, that I thought we would never see in baseball. I mean, we didn't see it in our lifetime, and now we're about to see it here. I mean, a lot of people were questioning, is Shawnee the real deal? When he gets here, I mean, sure, it was great where he came from in Japan and whatnot. And, when he came here with the Angels, okay. I mean, he had good numbers, even though the team sucked, which they did. But now, he's with the Dodgers. He's on the right side of LA. The team is winning. He's putting these numbers. He's going to have 50-50, but I think by about Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. The way he's going, I think he's going to hit before
Louis, sometimes you have a way of saying things so subtly, but they're so damn funny. John, I see the smile across your face under your hand. Louis hit it on the head right there. Hey, John, the way this guy's going, so we've been concerned about it. Can he get 50-50? Can he get 50-50? Hey, listen, this guy better not get hot because he might get 60-60. He still has time, John.
Well, I think what becomes very interesting about this is if he does get the 50-50 season, and I think he will, and if the Dodgers make a short exit in the postseason,
I know where you're going, John.
50 just get ignored.
Dave Roberts.
In the words of Ralph, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, who is the only team that can beat the Dodgers? Simple. The Dodgers themselves.
Los Angeles Dodgers. Hey, you know what, Alejandro? That's a hell of a point. That's a hell of a point to bring up. This guy has an opportunity to do 50-50, 52-52, 54, 50 something in the 50s. And the Dodgers already are not as far ahead as they should be when you look at them on paper compared to their competition in the West. But to have an exit, a quick exit in the play,
I mean, they are bound to do that because everybody's hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
at the wrong time.
Gavin Stone, they got Yamamoto back, but Walker Buehler.
I saw
Yamamoto. I'm getting some water.
Yeah, last week, and
Kershaw. Everybody, Dustin May, for cried out loud. That guy hasn't pitched a game since came up, so he's hurt. What are they gonna do? I heard they might use Ohtani as a reliever in the playoff if they get that far. Well, they're gonna get that far eventually, but they trying to. Robert said that that's a possibility. But one thing I kind of question about that. You've seen what he can do with a bat, okay? And you see what he can do as a pitcher. But as a pitcher, he gets hurt. So why don't you just pick a poison? Pick your poison, use him as a hitter. If you use Ohtani as a hitter, this kid could guarantee you a 40-40 every year. While pitching, he might get injured again. And a third Tommy John surgery is kind of lethal for a pitcher. So you have to pick your poison in terms of that. What are you gonna? That's gonna be a question for the Dodgers in the future. What are they gonna do with Shohei Ohtani? You just keep him as a DH full time. I think he's worth the money because he brings people in. Or take a gamble and put him into that rotation and maybe get caught in the injury bug that everybody seems to get as a Dodger pitcher.
How about putting him in the outfield?
I think he could handle it.
I do too.
Yeah. Well, even yeah. He don't need to. I mean, his job is to be a DH and hit. As long as he's producing as a hitter, I'm fine with whatever money he's gonna get. He draws, and when you put people in the seats, that's all you care. In terms of business now, and in terms of the money that the Dodgers are spending. Not my money. It's not your money. So
let's do this another way. Let's now fast forward to October. The playoffs have arrived. The Dodgers have made it. The Yankees have made it. The Orioles have made it. The ratings that Fox is going to get, that TBS is going to get, with having Ohtani in the playoffs for the first time, the combination of Soto and Judge in the playoffs, and all that young talent that Baltimore possesses, could end up being a rating bonanza for both of those outlets, if in fact those teams can make runs.
Oh, definitely. I am looking forward. Also, Philly is a team that I mean.
Wait! Before you do that, this is perfect because this leads me in to the final segment here, and it just came up. Great article by Will Light from MLB.com. He asked the question: which of these struggling contenders should be most worried? And it looks like we're talking about that right now. He lists the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Yankees, of course, the Orioles, the Rangers, the Braves, and the Cubs.
The Rangers in contention?
Yeah,
That's what I said. No, that's not the Rangers. That's the Twins.
yeah.
I knew I did something wrong. That's bad eyes. And I don't think the Phillies have anything to worry about. The Phillies seem to be on cruise control.
Look, the Phillies are 30 games above 500. In their last 27, they're 19-8. I don't see what they have to be terribly concerned about. That rotation is deep. That bullpen is pretty good. That starting lineup can I think match up against anyone's starting lineup. I don't see any issues for the Phillies in terms of making fun here.
Now,
I think I'm gonna go this far. In terms of balance and the two leagues, the two best teams probably gonna be Houston Astros and the Phillies. I'm not saying that they're gonna be in the World Series, but I'm saying in terms of balance. I like what Houston has in terms these young kids, Arrighetti and you got Hunter Brown, like they pitching really solid. Then you got Valdez. Then you got coming back Verlander. They looking good, man, and that bullpen is solid too. And Jordan Alvarez is hitting, so that's a team that you should be worried as an American League.
Well, here's how he based it. I see what he did now as I scroll down. So what he did was he took these teams and he looked at the first half of the season and the second half. That'll go into what you were saying, John, about the stretch now that the Phillies are in. But he brings this up, and I'll read each one, and we'll do it. The Guardians, first 81 games, 52-29. Since, 32-33. The Braves, first 81 games, 46-35. Since, 33-32. The Twins, first 81, 45-36. Since, 33-32. The Orioles, first 81, 51-30. Since, 32-34. The Yankees, 52-29 in their first 81, 32-33 since. The Dodgers, 50-31, 37-28 since. That's not too bad.
That's not bad.
And then the Phillies, that stretch you talk about, the last 27 games, John, but here it says 53-28 in the first 81, 35-30 since. I still don't think the Phillies or the Dodgers should have anything to be concerned about. Now,
what that points out is that there is no dominant team. Everyone has flaws, and in the second half of the season, they've all been exposed.
Which brings us to the second half of our show, which is the race to the postseason. We go to the American League. We look at the American League, where the teams are. I'm talking so I can scroll to the top and get to the standings, but we're going to take a look now and run at the American League. Louis, the American League East. So the only reason, Louis, that I look at the standings a lot. I don't, not a lot.
So
but
do
I look at them often enough. In the American League, the only reason why I look at the American League East standings is to make sure that the Yankees are not on top. Unfortunately for me, I haven't had a lot of luck. I haven't had a lot of luck this year. And remember, Louis, at the All-Star break, that I said we were talking about what we were looking forward to in the second half of the season. And I told you I was looking forward to that 14-15 game losing streak. That obviously never happened. It doesn't look like this quarter. There isn't even 15 games left. So obviously it's not going to happen. But 84-62, Louis, and somehow, some way, the pitching for the New York Yankees has been able to hold up. The team has been able to. The team has been able to stay healthy enough to continue to win. But it's the postseason. Louis, do you at this moment, though you see your Yankees, and we know you're a deep Yankee fan, you're not worried about the Red Sox, Orioles right behind you. What concerns do you have about the New York Yankees heading into the push for the for the postseason.
Well, the Red Sox don't worry me at all, because they fumble. But the Orioles have been breathing down necks all season long, just as I expected it. And like I said, all year long, it's gonna come down like the last couple weeks of the season. Probably the last game of the season to see if, because the only real competition I see is the Orioles. Because they have been threatening us this entire time, and I see it continuing. And leading the postseason, Yankees got to stay healthy. They got to get the pitching in gear and for the things. If they have any chance to knock out Baltimore and advance, because because their lineup is pretty powerful too. I mean, that's how they've stayed in contention, and right behind us all season long. I see it going right through the rest of the regular season, and if we should meet them in the postseason, which is very possible. So that's the only thing that worries me is the Orioles.
And John, over in the Central, remember that we just read from that article that the Guardians were one of the teams of concern because of the second half they had. Remember the lead they had built, the basic dominance that they had built there in the Central. But the Kansas City Royals, I'm so happy for the Kansas City Royals, John. I'm just so happy for that organization, the way things have turned out for them so unexpectedly. But I did not expect that this team was going to keep winning like this, John. The Royals are playing good.
Well, they just faced a tough series with the Yankees at the stadium, in which they lost 2 out of 3. They lost a tough one last night in extra innings when Chaz Chisholm walked off that game. I think the Kansas City Royals are in pretty good shape here because the Minnesota Twins will be the team that everyone's going to be paying attention to. They've got a rough week next week in which they'll play 7 games all on the road, 3 in Boston against the Red Sox, and then next weekend 4 with the Guardians in Cleveland. And that, I think, is going to be the week in which we eventually figure out who's going to be the third wild card team that makes it from the American League. The Twins have been a streaky team all year. They've played well. They have played terrible. They've had the stretches of both. And I think next week is going to be the ultimate week here. I mean, if they can survive that 7-game road trip to Boston and Cleveland, then I think making the playoffs is probably going to be what happens.
Yes.
And then Alejandro, and then we can go around the AL as you see what I'm doing here. And then in the West, in the AL, which you were talking about the Houston Astros, Seattle Mariners still hanging tough there.
They're still hanging, but they did a terrible job not adding on the deadline. They should have had a good solid. I mean, they got a Rosarena, but Rosarena is not the Rosarena that we used to see. They need protection for Julio Rodriguez. But I want to touch back into the Royals and the Royals fan base. I mean, even though if they don't make it to the playoff, I mean, they shouldn't be. I mean, you have to be proud of your team, man. They kind of reminded me the 2022 Orioles, right? They were a good team, up and coming team, and you saw a flash of brilliance there. And I think the Royals are heading in the same direction. They did a wonderful job scouting these guys and also like adding these pieces, like Seth Lugo, for crying out loud. Who would expect them? This guy is like a Cy Young candidate. So whoever's scouting and whoever's doing like this, this job for like the front office is doing a hell of a job. And they as a fan, I mean, I'm not a Royal fan, but if I was a Royal fan, I have nothing but pride because they look like a serious trouble next year.
John, anything to add on the American League there?
No, I think, again, I think the American League, I think as far as the division wins are concerned, I think for the most part, they could have pretty much been taken care of. Excuse me, unless the Guardians fall apart next week. Or even the week after. Yeah. I don't foresee that happening. Really, all the Guardians would have to do with that series with Minnesota next week is just split it. That's really all they have to do. And I think that the Guardians are going to make the playoffs, be the division winner. And again, as we saw last year, the division winners in the playoffs really did have a rough time because of that 5 days that they get off. And
Exactly.
5 days.
Yeah, right.
That repeats itself this year.
They like in Maui on vacation.
Way to go here.
Last thing on the American League.
Oh no, I wanna ask
yeah.
something. Because Louis said something interesting about the Boston Red Sox. Last night I was checking like the Boston Red Sox, like the prospects, and my God, Roman Anthony. This kid is from another planet. I think if they could put those kids on the field like Teal, Marcelo Meyer, and Roman Anthony next year, alongside with that pitching and this dude doing what he's doing with the pitching coach, Bailey. Oh my God, they look dangerous. That's a team that is going to be a headache for any team in the East.
I think it's very interesting what the Red Sox do with the Arizona Fall League and the 5 guys that end up going to the Arizona Fall League, because I think those 5 guys will be serious contenders for the 40-man roster. The offseason is going to be very interesting for the Red Sox because they've got to make space on the 40-man roster for these guys that are really on the brink, as Alejandro said, of making the Major League roster. And so they're going to be very busy trying to figure out who stays on that roster, who doesn't stay on that roster, and how they put that 40-man roster together. The Red Sox, the good news about what the Red Sox are doing, even if they don't make the playoffs, is the young players that are on the team right now are getting valuable experience in
definitely
postseason push, which is what this has been pretty much since really Labor Day weekend, if not even sooner than that. And the experience that they're getting from this should, going forward, really be beneficial to them in terms of trying to compete with the Orioles, who also have a young team, and the Yankees, who are trying to figure out whether they can have a young team or not.
One key guy that I see, like the Boston Red Sox should kind of keep, is Tyler O'Neill, because you need that right-handed bat. After that, I mean, you could retweak any other possibility you have, but when I saw that, I mean, I don't know if Roman Anthony is going to be ready for next year. Maybe he will be. But Marcelo Meyer and Teal, I mean, they look like they're ready. So it's going to be beautiful to watch, especially in the American League East, man, with all this young talent.
Tyler O'Neill's situation, I think, is very interesting because I really think it's going to come down to years and money. He's given them a 30-home run season with the walk-off that he hit last night against Baltimore. A huge win that they desperately needed to have. But if O'Neill is looking for a big-time contract, I think the Red Sox will pass. If they can convince him that a short-term deal is in his best interest, then I think he stays.
I think he should. I mean, they're gonna need to work on something with him because they need a right-handed bat.
Yes.
And right now, I mean, he's been there. He knows how to hit in the park. He feels comfortable there. He likes everybody in there. So why not? I mean, he's not gonna get any crazy money because he's not consistent enough. But what I saw from him in Fenway is a beautiful thing. I mean, he could stay there at least 4 years until they develop another right-handed hitter. They looking good, John, man. They looking good.
No, I agree. It's a team that's definitely on the rise. And that's why I say the experience that these younger players get in this playoff push is only going to benefit them going forward, even if it doesn't work out this year.
Right.
Yeah.
National League. Louis, I used to talk about Bryce Harper a lot. I used to talk a lot of shit about Bryce Harper. You don't hear me talking much. You don't hear me talking much about Bryce Harper these days, do you?
Not anymore. No.
Hey, Louis, how about those Phillies?
You gotta love it. Surprise of the year. I didn't expect beginning of the year. I didn't expect him to be this good. I thought Atlanta was going to just run away the division, but then the injuries started piling up, and Phillies have taken over, and they have a substantial lead. I don't see them. I don't see them falling apart at all. Season. They're going to breeze. I think they're going to breeze right through the postseason. This team was unstoppable.
I'll say this: it's a big weekend series that the Mets have with the Phillies. I mean, this is their opportunity
big
to
one.
demonstrate whether or not they deserve to be where they are or not. This is a huge weekend for
I
them.
told my whole family and friends, okay, I'll admit it, I lied. I said I'm not feeling well. I can't travel this weekend. It's going to be rainy and I got to stay with my dogs. Some of that is true. But the real truth is I'm going to have my ass planted watching these games because you're right. This is a huge series. Number one, obviously, the Phillies take care of the Mets here. That wraps up the NL East, although it's already basically wrapped up.
Mhm.
Pretty much.
But if my Mets, that's right, I said it. If my Mets, Francisco Lindor, listen, I waited for the guy to have a year. I waited for him to have a year. He is having a year. The Mets have just been playing fantastic baseball in the second half of the season, especially the last 2 months. But John, like you said, if by somehow, some way, the Mets can sweep the Phillies, the NL East just got really interesting.
Well, I wouldn't say they'll sweep the Phillies. If they can take 2 out of 3 for the Phillies, then I think everybody should be happy because at least it would provide the Phillies with a reason to look in the rearview mirror and see what's there when you start talking about the postseason. Because the Phillies could end up seeing the Mets again in that postseason at some point in that process. And so for the Mets, it's an opportunity to demonstrate to the Phillies that there's a reason to pay attention to what's in your division because you just might see it again in about 3-4 weeks.
And for the Braves, I feel for the Braves.
But give them credit. Look.
Oh, yeah, they're still there. They're
still there. They're still dangerous. I mean, Chris Sale has pitched well for them and probably wins the Cy Young. Charlie Morton has been there plenty of times and knows what this year is all about. I mean, the Braves have figured out how that minor league system can really help them to maintain where they've been. And that's pretty much what's happened this year based on the injuries that they've had. And again, if they can just get Austin Riley healthy and get him hot and Greg Olson healthy and hot, who knows? In a short series, they could beat somebody.
Yeah. And basically, the rest of the way, the Milwaukee Brewers are basically just waiting for the day they clinch. That's about all that's happening.
Pat Murphy has done a tremendous job with that team. He's going to win Manager of the Year, no question. I think there were a lot of people back in January and February when they made the Corbin Burns deal with the Orioles that thought that the Brewers were, to some extent, putting up the white flag. They weren't putting up the white flag. They were just strengthening what they already had.
That was a good thing you brought up there, John. One of the highlights of this baseball, and I really mean it, one of the highlights of this baseball season. When I look at the standing, you talk about the great job the Milwaukee Brewers manager has done. You look at the Arizona Diamondbacks, 82 wins, though they finished strong last year. The Padres have 82 wins. The Brewers have 83 wins. The Royals, the Guardians, the Twins. It has been a baseball season of teams that we may not have expected this from, but they have made it such a great end of the baseball.
And this is what the owners are hoping for when you start using those serious words, competitive balance. This year, I think for the first time in quite some time, that's exactly what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with a semblance of competitive balance that's going to keep people happy and is still going to give them the ratings that the networks are looking for based on the talent, the individual talent that's going to end up playing in the postseason.
You're going to get ratings down the stretch for sure, like this.
Right.
That's damn sure. Gentlemen, Louis, looks like Alejandro's having technical difficulties. Louis, final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a season has had plenty of excitement. September has lived to it too, and of course now something I saw yesterday that it's bad enough when somebody is that close to getting a no-hitter once, but to lose it twice, oh brother! I mean, we have seen some weird things happen in baseball. 2 no-hitters being lost just in the 9th inning. That's gotta be, a real sick feeling when you really think about it. And it was, the Blues.
That was very interesting yesterday. The Mets come up in the 9th inning and they're being no hit. And
Yeah.
like for
Yep.
all the world that's exactly what was going to happen.
Yep.
Francisco Lindor hits the home run that takes care of the no-hitter and the shutout, and then the next thing you know, the Mets just went off and ended up piling on and ended up winning the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you like that?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Alejandro, let me let you chime in before final thoughts. We were talking about, of course, the National League, the Phillies, obviously, with a big series coming up with the Mets. The Brewers, they're basically just waiting to clinch any day. And we know that the Dodgers just can't shake Arizona and San Diego.
Oh my God, yeah, they on the tail. They seem to every time the Dodgers win, the Padres and Arizona win. So they cannot gain ground on them. Phillies, I said it, man. Phillies is probably the most balanced team. We could talk about Harper and we could talk about Schwarber, but they solid. I mean, they have a three-headed monster on that rotation with Ranger Suarez, with Wheeler, with Nola. You don't want to face those three guys in the short series because you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Braves are hanging in there, but the Braves are a team that injuries kind of took a toll on them. The Mets are a team that seems hungry and behind Vientos and Lindor. Another thing, Vientos is going to the DR to play winter ball there to learn some of the off-speed pitches and breaking ball. Oh, that's a good thing. So yeah, man, the National League is Milwaukee is just like you said. They just wait. It's just a waiting game for them now.
I was telling John one of the beauties about and Louis that the beauties about this baseball season. Look at how many teams are doing better than anticipated, making it such an exciting finish. All right, Louis. Oh, go ahead, John.
If the Mets do make the playoffs, does this convince Pete Alonso that staying with that team is something he would consider?
That's another thing. That's right. Does it convince him to stay? I'm crossing my fingers and my eyes and my toes.
They have some money to play with. You know that.
Yeah, they do.
I mean,
they do.
I was talking to Brizuela here when they were playing the Cubs, and he mentioned that they have somewhere around 100 and something million to play with. So the interesting thing is like what you do with Vientos when Ronnie Mauricio comes back, because Ronnie Mauricio is a kid that has a lot of potential, and you have nowhere to play him now. So I think they could use him at third and then move Vientos to first as a backup plan just in case Alonso doesn't. But either way, the Mets they're in great shape. I mean, they got the money, they got tons of prospects. They could spend money on pitching. So let's see, man. I'm curious to see what they do. And you have Stearns and you have Eduardo working, and they know how to work with talent, and they know how to work with limited resources in terms of budget. So it's gonna be fun, man. I think if they could make it to the wild card now, it's a blessing. But as a fan, I know you are, Ralph. There's nothing you should be ashamed of, man. It's like the Royals, man. They looking good.
I mean, how interesting is it? A few years ago, we were talking about the financial mistakes that the Mets made.
Right. John, you just took the words out of my mouth.
Now those contracts are about to expire, and this team is in much better shape.
I was just about to say that.
Exactly.
And
you have to hire the right guy.
Right. And add on top of that the disastrous beginning to this season. Right. Listen, if you're a Met fan, by June, you're thinking, listen, forget it. Yeah. It's over. The season's over. And all of a sudden, this happened. Louis, final thoughts.
Yeah, because like I said, this is going to be like, right down the stretch. Anything can happen. Like with the series, and of course with the Mets playing the Phillies, if the Mets do win, it's going to be a 3-way race. Not for see against the wild card spot. This is going to be one hell of a weekend. I think it's going to be for the next 2 weeks. One hell of a finish to the season. Because anything can happen within the National League and between the Yankees and the Orioles, that too. So, fasten your seatbelts, baseball fans. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Bumpy ride. Alejandro, final thoughts.
I was yesterday. I was really excited. I saw the Lidom rookie draft. Lidom is the baseball league in the Dominican for winter baseball, and every team did a great job. I mean, they added balance with this young talent coming up. This is the prospects that are above DSL, the Dominican Summer League, that are somewhere like around rookie ball to AAA, AA, and especially my team, Águilas Ibaeñas, man, they did a hell of a job. They got San Diego's number 2, number 3 prospect, Leodalis Debris, and he's 17 years old, and he said that he wants to play. So yeah, I'm excited to see Winter Ball that's coming up in October. So man, I'm looking forward.
Yeah,
I mean, think about it. You got the Arizona Fall League rosters that'll be coming out pretty soon.
Yeah.
The Dominican rosters are already out, so I mean, for at least
John,
the next 3 months.
I know you could have fun watching that because they have it on MLB in the app now.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, there's going to be some pretty good winter baseball that's going to take place. That's going to allow these farm systems to really evaluate what they've got and help them to make decisions when it comes to the 40-man roster, which is what every team's got to make.
A lot of baseball to talk about. John, final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I just think that you've got teams that are setting themselves up for next year and setting themselves up with these winter rosters that they're starting to put together for those teams that aren't going to make the playoffs, and then for those teams that are in the playoffs or still in the mix. You've got 2 things going on. You've got to try and make your way into it this year, and then you got to start thinking about what next year is going to look like. So a lot of off-season moves are starting to be made by a lot of these teams as they try and figure out what direction and how they're going to get to where they want to go.
And my final thoughts go here. In 1899, the Cleveland Spiders were part of the National League's 12 teams in the 1890s. They finished with a record of 20-134. 20 wins, 134 losses over a 154-game season, which of course was the standard until it was changed to 162 games. That projects to a 21-141 season on a 162-game schedule. Unfortunately, of course, that was not part of the modern era of baseball of the 1900s, so that's not included in the record. That is the actual Major League Baseball record, or baseball record, but it's not included. So we had to wait until 1962. My New York Mets, who decided to lose 120 games. And until this year, that record has stood the test of time. After 147 games, Chicago White Sox have lost 114 games. They are 6 losses away from a record that some believed was never going to be broken. But more than that,
the problem was La Russa, according to people. Huh?
Right, but more than that, it's 147 games, guys. That means there's 15 games left in the season.
Right.
The Chicago White Sox have a chance to lose 125 games. So
you know what we could do? You know what we could do in the off season? We could do one show on the Chicago White Sox, and just if we were the general manager, what would we do?
Yeah,
I could serve as a correspondent here, like asking and interviewing people from the South Side, because they really disappointed, man.
You know what? Wait a minute. Holy crap.
We'll talk about that. Hold on. Hold your horses.
I like that. Hey, you put your foot in it.
I know.
Okay, so that's a great idea. We got Alejandro in the car right there. He's already he's mobile. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Of course, this is In the Batter's Box. It is the NGSC Sports Weekly Baseball Show. We'll be on Thursdays for the rest of the season. We'll move the political show. A lot happening in the political world, of course.
Really?
In case anybody was watching, Biden had a terrible debate. That's why he had to step aside. Basically, that was the end of Biden. Anybody who doesn't realize that Mr. Trump had a bad debate, I can't help them. But it was bad. So we'll see what happens from there. We are closing in on the election, and Attack on the Political will stay on top of that. Until then, thank you. And remember the website, it is ngscsport.com, where we never stop. Until then, peace.